Welcome everybody back to the Hitting a Turnbuckle podcast. It's Thursday and you know what that means. It's AEW Dynamite review day. And now today we are joined by someone who has been doing this for the last couple of weeks with us, but is now a permanent fixture on the show. We normally call him the AEW Guru, but today I have a new nickname for him. So welcome to the podcast, Dynamite David Robinson. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, Ed. I love the nickname.
Yeah, well, I thought, AEW Guru, and I was thinking what goes well, Dynamite Dave. There you go.
Dynamite Man Dave,
Dynamite,
DMD.
yeah, should have got that on your DMD. Oh, look at that. Jeez. We're doing it. Should have got that on your shirt that I ordered for you this week. You could have, So Dave will soon be repping the merchandise as well. To show
Yeah, I need to. I'm running out of wrestling shirts. I've had to dig out the old CM Punk T-shirt from we had WrestleMania 26. I thought it's quite fitting wearing a Punk T-shirt at the minute with everything that's going on.
Yeah, considering this is going to be one of the podcasts where we don't actually talk about him for a change.
Yeah, it has been quiet on the CM Punk front this week.
Other than turning up at Impact at the back end of last week, it has. So before we start with Dynamite, there was two bits of news that we'll talk about and we'll discuss all in a minute. The first part was now AEW Dark has joined Elevation and has been cancelled by AEW. Just to touch on this, I'm assuming, like we talked last week, it was probably to do with Collision being brought on for 2 hours. The other thing that I heard, and again, with internet reports, you kind of, taken with a pinch of salt, but they were now saying that Ring of Honor is going to be kind of used as developmental for AEW. So I suppose the Dark and Elevation team will end up over there. What are your thoughts on Dark being cancelled, and do you think it makes sense them using Ring of Honor as a step way forward to getting onto the main roster?
I think so. I think that's a real great move. Real good use of Ring of Honor. We touched on it last week about some of the stars, such as the Acclaimed. They established themselves on Dark and Elevation, and now they're featured week in, week out on Dynamite and Rampage. So having somewhere such as Ring of Honor where they can still do that, get the reps in, and then ultimately be promoted to Dynamite or Collision when the time comes. I think it's a great idea. I think moving forward, they'll want AEW to compete with WWE like long-term strategy.
Yeah.
Whereas the Ring of Honor is more placed to compete with your NXT, perhaps, down the line. So yeah, a sensible move.
Yeah, I think so. It'll be good. I actually think they've started that, because I think Samoa Joe is taking on Brock Anderson this week. So Arn Anderson's son. So again, kind of the Elevation Dark talent.
That fits, yeah.
Shifting over. Let's talk All In. We might as well. We're all in. Dave has got it in his background to show you. We're all going to be there at Wembley Stadium. So no, all tickets haven't been bought by Ticket Scouts, depending on what you read online. The last count, and we're waiting for an update today, but the last count from the pre-sales from Tuesday and Wednesday, they've topped 43,000, which, to be quite honest with you, is remarkable for a show that, is brand new to England, although we can see it on ITV, but it's the first time they've run a show over here, and they haven't announced a single match card. And I think I read Meltzer's comments yesterday that it's eclipsed the WCW ticket sales for the Georgia Dome show where Hogan fought Goldberg for the heavyweight title. So looking like, Dave, so far it's going to be a big success.
Yeah, I mean, even if they didn't sell any more tickets, they've doubled their own record at Arthur Ashe, which is 20,000. As you say, back to the Georgia Dome, I think it was a night Goldberg beat Hogan. It was around 30, I think 28,000. So absolutely phenomenal. Given some of the cost of the tickets as well. I mean, they are priced from 30 quid, so there's plenty of affordable tickets.
Yeah.
But some tickets I saw were $2,500 when you're looking at the premium tickets, which involve a bit of hospitality or food. So an absolute phenomenal success. I was confident that it would do well. I was hopeful that it would sell out. But I think, given it's only the pre-sale, the general sale hasn't even started yet, I think that's blown away a lot of people's expectations. And we love wrestling in England, in the UK. There's a big scene. We seem to have a bit of a boom in terms of indie UK wrestling again at the minute. So yeah, there's definitely appetite, and hopefully it's the first show of many.
Yeah, exactly. I think the other good thing I saw, they done family tickets from like a family of 4, 2 adults, 2 kids.
Yeah, I think it was about £100 for 2 adults and 2 kids, which, you know, great day out. I mean, it starts at 4, ends, it's saying 10, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes on a bit after that. So good value for money.
Yeah, and also they had it added on to when you get to people that haven't got tickets already. When you do buy tickets, then there's a secondary option for £60 on a Saturday. You can go to Box Park at Wembley. They've got a meet and greet. They've got the merchandise and all there. I can't make that one, unfortunately. I bought my son tickets to Football Mania for the Saturday. Obviously, this was before this was announced. Otherwise, it would have been priorities would have been first, which have been wrestling. But I am going on the Sunday. And again, there's no meet and greet on a Sunday. The tickets are only £20, but you get merchandise, food, and stuff there. So very worthwhile and well done. Congratulations to AEW. I think they've exceeded expectations so far. Now, let's move on to Dynamite. Now, the first match on the card was an 8-man. Adam Cole, Orange Cassidy, remind me, Bandito and Roderick Strong against the Jericho Appreciation Society. Solid opening, I think. Jericho was out as well on commentary. Very good opening. Adam Cole won by lowering the boom on Parker. I found it funny that Jericho sort of said how many people can't wait to see Jericho in London, and they're not even here yet, but it was quite funny for that. And then Adam Cole proceeded to attack Chris Jericho after the match, and I think he called him something like a bitch. Solid opening start for me. Really good 8-man, lots of fun spots, but generally what we would expect from the 8 people in there.
Yeah, great match, a lot of fun. A lot of signature spots from the likes of Bandito and Orange.
Yeah,
I loved the part when he did a spot with 2.0 with Menard and Parker when they took each other out, and he nonchalantly ducked under. Good continuation as well for the story. That now for me, Adam Cole Jericho, it does feel like a bigger match. It feels like they've added to it. Cole running up the ramp as soon as the match finished, Jericho keeping his head down looking at the monitor, so didn't see him come in and wiped him out and took the curtain down, and a bit of a brawl and Adam Cole got kicked out of the arena. So yeah, I thought it was great match, great opener.
It was indeed. Really good. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it does give a bit more, makes that match a bit more bigger. Over last week, it's probably going to be double or nothing. The one thing I did like out of it, and I don't know if you said, there was a bit when Orange Cassidy was doing his usual, the little kicks and that, and Garcia's face was just an absolute the cut to a backstage segment of BCC, basically talking about how they're going to bleed and how Bryan Danielson is better than Bret Hart.
They didn't name drop him, did they? But it was clear who they were talking about with the best there is, best there was, best there ever will be catchphrase. Yeah,
exactly. Okay, we're moving to the next match now. This was Saraya and Willow. I have to honestly say this, I struggled with this. Don't think it was the best match, really, to be honest. It was what it was. Paige picked up the win. Kind of think they got to get rid of this feud as quickly as possible. Paige picked up the win. Saraya picked up the win, sorry. Keep getting her confused with a WWE name. They started attacking after the bell. Shida come out and aligned initially with the Outcasts, and then switched it back and took them out along with Britt Baker, D&D, and Jamie Hayter. Is this a thing where they're protecting Saraya, not putting her in the ring too much, but they need to start doing it because the ring rust seems to be still there for me? I don't know.
I love Paige in the WWE and Saraya now in AEW. That was a hell of a signing for AEW. She hasn't wrestled that much, and it did show a little bit. Also, Willow probably not the type of competitor that I'm doing it now.
You're doing it.
You've infected me. And that Saraya is used to. It's probably the first time they faced each other. When I'm watching her at the minute, I'm very, perhaps Zach Zodiac's the same when he's watching his sister. I'm very nervous, every bump she takes, and I know she's clear and absolutely fine, but I think she'll get a rhythm. She's a hell of a wrestler. In terms of the match, it was the same kind of formula, really, with the Outcasts getting involved. But I did love the double swerve. I loved Hikaru Shida's return, and that now sets up maybe a 6-person match at Double or Nothing.
Possibly. Must admit, I did cringe when she hit the Death Valley Driver.
Yes.
I was very, and again, we've got Zach on the show, and perhaps he can shed some light into how he feels watching Saraya with,
Well, they wouldn't take any risk, would they?
No.
And if she couldn't compete, she wouldn't. But I think as fans, and we just want to, we don't want her to have to retire again. We want her to be in AEW long term. She's still young, and I think we fear for her. And maybe that is reflected in the booking, and she's doesn't compete as much as perhaps she'd like to. Possibly,
and I also think there's certain moves that she can't take or won't take. I think she's made that perfectly clear that there are certain elements that she just won't be able to take. So the Death Valley Driver, I'm sure with the protection that she was given, was fine, but you just had, most times out of 10, anything like that, I'll just look away just because I know, we all know the seriousness of the injury. And as you say, hopefully she's in there long term and she goes on, but she does need more matches for sure. We move to the trios, the Tres de Mayo Trios Battle Royal, I think they called it. And apologies again, I'm not having those issues. I'm glad that a certain wrestler wasn't on this week that I saw anyway. There was the Dark Order, the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass, Powerhouse Hobbs, QT Marshall, Aaron Solo, Butcher Blade, Kip Sabian, Lucha Bros, and Del Bacchino, and the Varsity Athletes. The Acclaimed won the match. Which is good. They were very popular as they always are. There's now going to be, I heard, some new rules going forward for the trios match. The House of Black, I think, gave us some new rules. I think I've got them here somewhere. Just bear with me.
House rules, they were calling
them. That was it. House
rules.
That was it. House rules. I don't think I've got it on me, but
So basically, what they said is any 3 competitors can challenge. It's 20-second countouts, no rope breaks, and DQs. I wasn't 100% on that, but what I've heard is the challenger can opt for either a DQ or no DQ, so they can choose, when they challenge. That's my understanding of it, rather than House of Black choosing. But those are the new rules that are implemented.
Interesting. Okay, the Acclaim won. Anyway, the Acclaim won the match at Daddy Ass, and the Acclaim won. Are we going towards Acclaimed and Daddy Ass versus House of Black and Double or Nothing? And what did you make of the Battle Royal in total?
Well, I think we're definitely heading towards that match, whether it'll be a Double or Nothing, because we're still a few weeks out, aren't we?
Yeah.
So I could see that as a Dynamite match potentially. I think it's an interesting clash of styles, and the promos that the Acclaimed compared to House of Black couldn't be more different. So I'm quite interested to see how that plays out, if it is more of a feud rather than a single match. In terms of the Battle Royal, usual Battle Royal, really. A lot of fun, a lot of people involved, a lot of quick eliminations. But when it got down to the last 2 teams, we had more of a match with Kip Sabian and Butcher and Blade against the Acclaimed. And I enjoyed this. I was glad the Acclaimed won. More of the Acclaimed, as far as I'm concerned. I've said it before, but they're still red hot at the minute. So definitely be utilising them in that position in the trios.
Definitely. Just don't think they're the team to take the titles off the House of Black, though.
No. I agree. I'd like to see a long run from the House of Black. I'd like to see more of House of Black, as we spoke about previously, but maybe when Collision starts up, they will be a faction that are featured week in, week out. I like their vignettes, but I particularly Buddy Murphy. I want to see him having some more matches.
He does.
Buddy Matthews.
Buddy Murphy, Buddy Matthews, whatever. Buddy, just call him Buddy. That's the best way. We don't get confused with that. I agree. I want to see the House of Black. I'd love the House of Black. Tommy End as Malachi Black, who is Tommy End. I remember it from the Independents. So I'm really impressed with him. Buddy, I like.
I saw him as Tommy End on a show in Wolverhampton years ago, so I followed his career, and obviously going to WWE. And when he was released there, as disappointed as I was so excited at the potential of him going to AEW. He's had some good matches. He's featured in some bits and pieces, but he hasn't really been as prominent as I would have liked him to be. So hopefully that will come with the addition of 2 extra hours of television a week.
Exactly, and along with Buddy, but will they obviously, if they want to work with Punk, they'll go on to Collision. I'm guessing that's still how we're heading towards Collision with. So we move on. We had a little interview with Kenny and Don talking about the cage match this next week. So they've already announced that Moxley and Omega are having a cage match next week. I got vibes from this that Callis and maybe Takeshita, is that right?
It's better than last week.
Better than last week. I'll take
that.
I'll take that. Yeah. I have a feeling that either one or two of them are going to turn next week. The promo just seemed, it was good. I liked the promo, but it left me thinking, because Callis really took over. Callis really took over. He was a passionate, this is what he done to my head kind of thing. But that screamed heel turn to me. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it was a very serious promo. Not the typical Kenny Omega promo, really. It was very businesslike and focused on the cage match, which I'm seriously looking forward to that match. I think whatever happens next week with that is going to set up what happens at Double or Nothing. So I'm really intrigued which way they go with it. I love Don Callis as well. I'd like to see more of Don. So I'm sure he will feature in whatever the outcome is next week. I'm sure he'll play a part in it.
He will. I think it makes sense because then it frees up Adam Page to come in. Come back and team with the Elite against Blackpool Combat Club.
He's had a bit of time off, hasn't he? Selling the injuries, so he must be returning soon, certainly before the pay-per-view. Yeah.
We had a Wardlow, another open challenge, which he kind of demanding an open challenge. It's not really how them work. You have an open challenge and someone answered it. I think it was LaRue, I think his name was.
Logan LaRue. No relation to Lash.
No relation to Lash.
I did look. There's nothing about Lash LaRue when I searched.
Damn. I was hoping it would be. Because I know that if when there's a mystery opponent, I always go to you to find out. You sent me the information last week. Squash, usual Wardlow match. Calls out Luchasaurus. Christian Cage comes out. So it's looking like we're getting Christian Cage and Wardlow. Again, possibly at Double or Nothing. I like the sound of that match. My only concern, again, is I'm not quite sure why Christian retired in the first place, unless it was concussion related. The only concern I would have, it would be the Powerbomb Symphony. If, not saying Wardlow's reckless, but he does give the Powerbomb. When he does give them out, he gives them out. But I'm looking forward to that. But it was just simply a standard Wardlow squash. Are we going to get to a point where we're going to need to start seeing him? It's kind of like the Goldberg thing, isn't it? Goldberg used to squash. And then when he went to those 20-minute matches, he just fell flat. Are we going to see that with Wardlow, or is Wardlow going to be... Would he be able to go 20 minutes and have a really good match rather than the squash matches that him and like Goldberg would have?
As you say, it's difficult because what brought Wardlow to the dance and what got him so over and so beloved by the fans were the squash matches and the Powerbomb Symphony.
Yeah.
I think Wardlow is a much better wrestler than Goldberg ever was, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know which way to go with it. He's capable of having the longer matches, and he's had a few of those longer matches. But I think on Dynamite, week in, week out, I don't mind this still at the minute. It's establishing on Anderson as well in his corner. And as we speculated, would it be Luchasaurus or would it be Christian? I'm glad they've gone Christian.
Yeah,
I think there will be a Luchasaurus Wardlow match at some point.
Yeah.
But to start it off with the Christian match and see how that progresses, another one that I'm excited about. I'm
a Sage
Christian
match as well. Sorry, is that a Sage match, do you think, as well, just to sort of, maybe test Wardlow a little bit than normal?
Yeah, and I'm sure Wardlow as well is absolutely relishing the chance to working with somebody like Christian, Hall of Famer and, former world champion. So I think that those are the type of, AEW's roster is so stacked, and you look up and down it, and week in, week out, the people don't appear, but there's just not enough time.
Yeah.
So when they really hit their stride, and we keep going back to it, Collision, I really think that will be a big growth time for the company, and hopefully going into All In and not All Out, we've got two back-to-back stacked cards.
Yes. Yeah, that is going to be interesting. Just to touch on that quickly, because they're running 2 pay-per-views in a week. Very tough to get people to buy 2 pay-per-views, especially with how much a pay-per-view costs. Do you think they're going to have to really stack both of these cards? Because is it going to be one of these things where we're going to kind of know the card for All Out as well at the same time as All In?
I think they've got to, yeah, because a week just isn't enough time to build. They might have the odd rematch. Yeah, there might be some stakes on the line that depending on results of certain matches at All In, it will determine what happens at All Out. They've got Forbidden Door as well, but I think they'll have a lot of New Japan stars on Forbidden Door, and maybe some Impact stars as well. Maybe other companies. Triple R, is it in Mexico? Yeah. So I don't see Forbidden Door as a problem. There's a big contingency of New Japan fans in the States and in the UK. But when it comes to All In and All Out, they're going to have to set 2 cards up. I've heard a rumor that, I don't know if you've heard this, about HBO Max and AEW launching a streaming service, which would rival Peacock and the WWE Network.
Yeah.
So whether that could be in place by August, where fans are paying a monthly, making a monthly commitment, and they get all the pay-per-views. I suppose it depends how much profit they tend to make on pay-per-views, and what their priority is. That could certainly factor into that.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to look at something, because that's going to be. I mean, obviously for us, it doesn't matter. We've paid however many hundreds of pounds that we paid for a ticket, and we'll pay the money for the pay-per-view the week after. So we didn't take a trip to Sandy Farm.
Oh, I love this. I hope you did. I've been looking forward to talking about this.
It was Jeff Jarrett, Sanjay Dutt, Sanam Singh, and I'm sure there was one more. Was there one
Jay
more?
Lethal.
Jay Lethal, in their overalls, knocking on the door of Mark Briscoe. Comes out. They're helping him around the farm with his son, singing songs, and Mark Briscoe's dad come out and just like, "You gotta watch out on these 2 in the overalls," and there was 2 of them in there. It was a fun. I found that segment really funny. The one question that I always ask with AEW fans is, and this is particularly because I've seen it the other way. If this was a WWE segment, would they shit on it, as in fans?
Oh, probably. Wrestling fans are very tribal, and it's great in some respects, but like in anything, like in soccer over here, football hooliganism, things can go to a next level and it becomes too far. Yeah. And I think all wrestling fans should want all these companies, the big companies, the smaller companies, to do well. Yeah. So they probably would, you're right. But this was very sports entertainment.
Yes, it was.
But so funny. I loved Satnam Singh holding the baby, and then Jeff Jarrett sitting down with the guitar about to play his greatest hit. And then when that led to the challenge to FTR, I cared more about seeing that match then. It was just a bit of character development. You've got the element Mark Briscoe as well. They said, we've come to you because you and Jay beat FTR, so we want to get some tips. We want to get advice on how we beat them. So I love this, and I hope this continues for a couple of weeks going into Double or Nothing.
Yeah, I did. I must admit, I found that skit. I like a skit like that. I found that very funny. But then we switched gears and we moved towards Ricky Starks and Juice Robinson for the. Well, there was no title, but it was I thought it was a pay-per-view quality match. Really enjoyed it. Ricky Starks got the win. And then obviously Wyatt attacked Starks after the match, and they kind of hinted that they're on a collision course towards probably Double or Nothing, I would have thought. Is there going to be a help for Ricky at this point, or are they going to is he just going to be Jay White, Ricky Starks? But what did you think of the match, and what do you think they're going to do at Double or Nothing with these guys?
Yeah, I think it will lead to the one-on-one match with Jay White. I would like to hear a bit more from Ricky Starks, on the microphone and cutting promos, because we haven't really, unless I've missed something on Rampage, which I don't think I have. He hasn't really spoke about this feud with Bullet Club Gold. Sean Spears wasn't there this week, apparently, so that explained, why Ricky was on his own. But I think, we're leading to a straight one-on-one match. This was a good match. As you said, could feature on pay-per-view cards, good quality one-on-one match for Dynamite.
Yes, certainly was. And you say maybe they had Sean Spears, but I kind of think, as you say, they're going down a single direction with.
I would have thought so, yeah, because they're going to have the tag match in terms of tag titles. They're going to have the trios match, possibly the ladies in a trios match as well. Looking at the Outcasts, so I think that'll be a one-on-one match. Yeah,
I probably would have thought so. Main event time, 4 pillars. It was a tag match. Sammy Guevara and MJF, Darby Allin, and Jungle Boy. And if the Jungle Boy and Darby won, it'd become a 4-way. If Sammy and MJF won, it would stay. It would be them two, double or nothing for the title. Earlier on in the show, MJF called out. Sammy Guevara called out MJF for leaving him last week. They reconciled with a kiss. Then they had the tag match. Fun encounter, fun match. Ended up with Sammy Guevara taking the pinfall after a coffin drop, although Jungle Boy kind of had a move on Sammy Guevara at the time. MJF just, slapped the Spanish God beforehand, and then he ate a super kick. Anyway, the faces won, and it sets up what we've kind of already been expecting at Double or Nothing, but it's now official. It is a 4-way match, Double or Nothing. The 4 pillars of AEW will be competing. I'm expecting big things from that. I'm expecting probably one of MJF's better matches. I know he hasn't fought a lot, but I'm expecting this match at Double or Nothing to exceed expectations, Dave.
Yeah, as you say, we were we were preparing for this match. We thought it would, at some point, it would be made a fatal 4-way. I really enjoyed this, and I've been critical of the build a little bit, but I thought this was a fun match. There's great chemistry with Sammy and MJF. It's similar to the kind of Jericho Owens type of friendship in some respects from a few years ago. I thought this was a lot of fun. It's a shame in some respects that probably won't, that will stop now. As you say, MJF slapped Sammy and Sammy gave him a super kick. I thought it was a clever finish in terms of Jungle Boy hitting the elbow, not realising he'd taken the tag, and Darby finished off with a coffin drop. So great match. Looking forward to the fatal 4-way. I think it could be a show stealer. And also, although we don't necessarily believe that MJF is going to drop the title anytime soon, I think they are really trying to establish those 3 guys at the top of the card. So I don't blame them for trying that.
No, I don't blame them either. You got to get your chances to see if you can make it.
That's it. If they don't give them the opportunity, we'll never know. A safer bet would have been to draft somebody like an Adam Cole, perhaps into that main event picture. But I think trying to elevate those guys, they're fantastic wrestlers. We've talked about Jungle Boy and Darby on the mic not being their strongest element, but in the ring, particularly Jungle Boy, he's just so fluid and such a great wrestler. So I think he's definitely one for the future. I don't think he's a heavyweight or world champion anytime soon. But one day I think he will be. So everyone's got to start somewhere. And I think the main event at Double or Nothing is where he starts. His main event run, perhaps.
I think so. There's a question, because we haven't asked this, and we touched on WWE. They announced a new title for their split brand going forward. Do they do that on Collision?
I think that will depend a little bit on how much they utilise Ring of Honor titles on Dynamite, and they've got a lot of titles because they've got the international title as well as the TNT title. There's a TBS title as well as the 2 women's belts. So I wouldn't automatically say yes. I don't think they'll launch that at the start. It could be something they do in the future. It depends how hard this brand split or this rumoured brand split is. Are we going to have some guys that predominantly appear on Dynamite and Collision, but they can still appear on the other shows? We're hearing, CM Punk will only be on Collision. The Bucks will only be on Dynamite. But it depends how strict they are with those. Are they rules or are they, more guidelines?
But do you think they will take it as it comes? So, if things do, manage to reconcile in another way. You know, that they do manage to have a conversation or whatever they do, and the Bucks and Kenny decide, you know what, yeah, we'll work with him. Maybe they don't do a hard split because that can happen, and then they can have them coming onto Collision to have their dream match that we all want to see.
That's it. I mean, in wrestling, that they can make it up as they go along, I suppose, and they can say whatever they want to in order to make the certain match.
Yeah.
But I always loved in the past Raw and SmackDown, and even longer before that, when you had Nitro and Thunder, when you had a continuation from the big story on Dynamite on the secondary show, or a continuation from SmackDown on Raw.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind that. I don't really want to see a Dynamite versus Collision and work towards that way. I want to see different stars in the different shows. I want to see more of the roster, particularly the likes of Swerve, House of Black, you know, Bandido, you know, some of the other guys that we don't see a great deal of, you know, Top Flight when they're back, when Dante's fit. There's so many talented performers in the division, in the company. So, yeah, I would like it to be a mix of the two.
I think so. Oh, yeah, I think a hard. I'd like to, as long as MJF doesn't mind working both shows, as long as he's champion, that'd be interesting. Because what if Punk wins the AEW World Title? Then what?
Yeah, I think they would be reluctant to do that early on, given everything that happened last year. I don't know if Punk would particularly want to be thrust into that position straight away. You never know with CM Punk. But I would expect him to want to work some matches with some of the younger performers, like he said when he entered the company. Do some 6-man tags with Dax and Cash, who've signed for another 4 years. So I don't see if they did work towards a single match with CM Punk, the match I wouldn't see is Kenny. But as you say, unless these issues are resolved and there's a working relationship established, I don't think we'll be seeing that anytime soon.
I don't either. Quick question on Forbidden Door. If you could book 3 matches on Forbidden Door, bearing in mind it is Japan, I don't know what your knowledge of Japanese wrestling is, but if you could book 3 matches on Forbidden Door, regardless of the promotions, who would it be?
I'd definitely like to see Okada versus Kenny.
Yeah.
I know they've had, is it 4 of those matches previously?
Yeah.
It's 4 or 5. I think they did have one in the States. I would love to see that match because I've only watched Japanese matches, New Japan matches, after the event or highlights. So I'd love to see that on Forbidden Door. In terms of what else, is it Hikuleo that's featured before on Dynamite, and Jeff Cobb also. I'm a fan of Jeff Cobb, so I'm not sure what they're up to at the minute. But those are guys that I'd like to see go up against some AEW stars again.
I'd like Zack Sabre Jr. versus Danielson.
I would love that. And the only reason I wouldn't want it on Forbidden Door is the hope that we get it on All In. In saying that, he obviously, Zack Sabre Jr. is from the UK, and a lot of hardcore and wrestling fans know about Zack Sabre Jr. He's appeared in WWE on the Cruiserweight Classic, I think.
Yeah, he did.
So I think that match would be a match that would get a lot of people excited for All In. But with his affiliation with New Japan, it would probably make more sense to see it on Forbidden Door. And that was the original plan for last year before Danielson got injured.
Yeah.
So
it was. So where we go, we'll switch again. We'll talk about All In before we close. Do we see one-off British talent coming in like the Ospreys? I know he's New Japan. Same with Zack Sabre Jr. But do you think we see some of these talented British guys on the card, or are they going to just stack it with AEW dream matches?
I think it will be a combination. I certainly think there'll be some UK stars appearing. I think, as far as I know, Will Ospreay has got a good relationship with AEW still.
He does.
He came in with the 2 Australian guys.
Oh, Aussie Open.
Escape, mate. Aussie Open, yeah. So they've had some matches with Aussie Open. He's had singles matches as well. He's appeared on pay-per-view and on Dynamite and Rampage. So I don't think anything changed there. And he did speak recently about, potentially working at All In. So I certainly see Will Ospreay. That wouldn't surprise me to bring him in. Zack Sabre Jr. is another one. I know Nigel McGuinness has been talking about, never say never, and perhaps he's got one last match in him. I know he had a big feud with Danielson over in Ring of Honor.
He did. He did.
But I'm not sure. It's a long time ago since he wrestled. So I love fantasy booking. I've said to you before on the podcast, I love speculating. And it's not because I'm trying to spoil it for myself, and I don't want to know spoilers.
No.
But I do like considering what matches could happen, what they might do. What kind of, are we going to see something like an Anarchy in the Arena match? Are we going to see a multi-man match? Yeah. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. AEW and Tony Khan always, even going into some of the pay-per-views, you kind of aren't as pumped about.
Yeah.
I think all of the shows have delivered. I can't remember a pay-per-view from AEW where they haven't delivered. And there's not many where there hasn't been some big surprises as well. So I think we'll see a combination of things at All In.
We'll be interested in what surprises we get. We could also get Sting's last hurrah or last showtime.
I don't know if I'm expecting Sting's final match to be a tag match with Darby.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure who Sting's perfect opponent would be. I'm sure he'd have a say in it. I'm sure Tony Khan would say, look, for your last match, what have you got in mind? And they would give Sting that, he deserves that for the career he's had, for the years that he's dedicating to wrestling. He obviously loves wrestling and always has, because the amount of times he comes back and he joined TNA and he went to WWE and AEW after WCW, I'm sure he doesn't need the money. And he's had plenty of matches there, he could ride off into the sunset, but one retirement match, opposition of his choosing. And if that happens at All In, it couldn't be a bigger stage, really, other than perhaps WrestleMania. And even WrestleMania perhaps wouldn't get 90,000 for one night. So
no, they'd probably put it over two, and he's had his WrestleMania match, and it was rather disappointing.
So this would be if he's going out and he wants it at the biggest occasion, I think All In would be that opportunity.
Definitely, I hope so. I would hope so. Maybe that will all out. I mean, I know it's not going to be in the bigger stadium, but if they want to keep something for, they get we don't get enough, so we can get everything this time. It's about time. WWE are giving Saudi the World Heavyweight Title tournament, so we deserve a little something special from AEW. And I'm sure they're going to want to leave a lasting impression, and I'm sure that they will, so they can come back in the future and hold some more events. Maybe not at Wembley, but but as long as they put it in a. As long as they put on a good show, which I'm certain they will, people are going to want to come back and buy tickets for it.
Well, the WWE shows are always very popular here. The house shows, they tend to do big numbers. The Raw and SmackDowns tend to sell out.
Yeah.
I know Money in the Bank, ticket sales have gone really well for that, albeit a smaller stadium in terms of the O2.
Oh, massively different. Yeah.
But the market here for wrestling fans, and it's not just the ticket sales, is it? It's the merch. Yeah, it's the revenue it brings to the country, to the stadiums, to the arenas, the pay-per-view buys as well. So I don't think this will be a one-off. Maybe Wembley could be a one-off.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a big ask to sell upwards of 60, 70,000 tickets once a year.
Yeah.
In saying that, I wouldn't put it past them.
No, I don't think they would have an issue with it if it was once a year. I think you're saying about generating money. I think Wow's got to generate a lot of money for the Clash of the Castle. So I think Wembley would certainly generate the money with all they've got 2 days worth of things. They've got the meet and greet on a Saturday. They got the event on the Sunday, and then hopefully in the future they'll bring, even if they just bring Dynamite over to the O2 or Craven Cottage, or one of those special ones, like you mentioned, like Fighter Fest. I know they were going to bring Fighter Fest over a couple of years ago, then COVID hit, so it was one of them. But
I definitely expect them to do so. I'm so happy as a wrestling fan, that this is all happening.
Me too.
We have had some not depressing years, but when WCW disappeared and we went into the Ruthless Aggression era off the back of the Attitude era, we had some great stars, but without the competition there, the product did seem to suffer. And the likes of us, yourself, stuck with it in recent times since AEW launched.
Yeah,
that has been my feel. I've still kept tabs on the WWE. But a rising tide raises all ships, is that the expression? And it's so exciting to see both the main companies doing well, the independent companies doing well. I'm sure when at the weekend of All In, the UK companies, Ignite probably have a show, in that general area. So a lot of wrestling fans, a lot of events, a lot to be excited about.
Talking about Ignite, which you nicely segued into that, you are going to be all in at Ignite, Buckle Up. You are going to be doing some interviews live with us, with some of the wrestlers and crew. We've already announced the fantastic triple threat main event. Are you looking forward to it, Dave?
I am. I'm a little bit nervous about the potential of conducting interviews with those guys. But yeah, I'll it's another step in my wrestling journalism career, my new friends. But yeah, it's going to be a great show. I saw obviously all the stuff that you guys put on at the weekend, and they've got so much talent there, so much UK talent, and some of those guys, like we were saying earlier about the likes of Tommy End and people that start off on these shows, and you follow their career, and they end up the likes of AEW and the WWE. So it's, as I said, great time to be a wrestling fan, great time for Ignite to partner with Hitting the Turnbuckle to produce Buckle Up, and I can't wait. Looking forward to it.
There's going to be some more announcements soon with some more talent, and there is going to be two in particular that I'm really can't wait to be announced. So if you haven't got your tickets already, why not? And if you please do, because you're going to be in for an absolute treat. Guys, this is all we've got time for today. I will be back in around 3 hours with Andy, with Flash Morgan Webster from the former WWE NXT Tag Team Champion. I'm going to run through very briefly. We do it all the shows. The guests we've got coming up, they have increased by the minute, by the day, by the hour. So here goes. Bear with me. And we have. So, yes, Flash Morgan Webster later on today. Tuesday, we have got we start the redemption of Martin Stone's story. He's back from his release in WWE. He's now working the indies in America. We can't wait to speak to him. The next day, Wednesday the 10th, is Brian Kendrick. So we're looking forward to hearing from Spanky about his character manifestations over his time at WWE. Hopefully I don't get cut off doing his entrance like I did Aiden English's last week. The Thursday, who are you laughing at? The Thursday, we are back with our Dynamite review. Then about an hour after that, me and Andy sit down with Bobby Fish, talking all things wrestling, Ring of Honor, NXT, AEW. Then at 8 o'clock, so straight after that, me, Andy, and Dave sit down with the brother of the AEW star Saraya, Zach Zodiac. We're going to talk British wrestling, British heritage, Saraya Page, any Channel 4 documentaries, everything. The following week, on the 18th of May, we have an Extreme Championship Wrestling special with Just Incredible. On the 21st, me and the lovely Fiona, who was on yesterday with our NWA queen, we join third generation superstar AJ Kazana by his pool celebrating his birthday. And I just have these worrying images in my head about that, as he's going to be sitting by his pool celebrating his birthday on the 21st of May. At the 23rd of May, 2 days later, former WWE Impact Wrestling, current NWA champion EC3 joins us for a great discussion. I can't wait for that. The 31st of May, we have someone on the show that pissed CM Punk off at the All Out? Dave?
Yeah, it was Brawl Out. He incited it.
Yes, he instigated the massive CM Punk triad, and that is wrestling media personality Nick Hausman will join us. The day after that, on the 1st of June, we have British independent wrestler, another one who's coming back from injury, Estin Reese. He's a Welsh guy. Actually, funnily enough, the Beers and Beatdowns crew know him and they know Flash. So I'm going to have a quick chat with them. And on the 15th of June, the week before my birthday, we have a great guest. We have Angelina Love joining us again from the NWA. A lot of NWA talent coming on the show. And I can breathe now. And I can say, Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you again today, all things AEW. And we look forward to doing it again next week.
Fantastic. Cheers, Ad. Thanks,
no
mate.
worries, guys. Guys, this has been the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. I've been your host, Adam Cousins, along with Dynamite Man Dave, DMD. Buckle down, and we'll see you guys soon.